So I had another video, an idea I wanted to do today. I intended on doing a different topic, which I'm gonna save for probably tomorrow or Friday. But I wanted to do a different thing. But my son got sick today. I mean, he's been sick all week. But like my wife just hit me and was like, he's getting worse. And so I was like, oh man. So I ended up taking my son to the urgent care, like patient first kind of thing. And we were there for hours. When they had us in the back room, like we was under surveillance or something. Like we was getting ready, answer some questions about where we've been. So this isn't the video I wanted to do, but I want to tell you what happened to me earlier today that made me do this. But before we do that, I got to make sure that we make sure we know what's going on. Don't forget Return of the Jedi featuring Like Skywalker over here, like button Skywalker. 37 days out of 100 days that I'll be posting. This is day 37 out of 100. Welcome to CNN. I'm Kirk Kennedy. Let's go in. I know it's late. My typical people who watch my stuff aren't usually on YouTube right now, so they probably won't see. I probably won't have anybody watching this joint live. And the games are on too, so don't think the game is not right there. But I want to tell you what happened to me earlier today, and I'll make this quick. So this happened to me yesterday. Every once in a while, I like watching. I like watching those YouTube testimonies where people went to hell, or they felt like they experienced hell in some way, shape, or form. And there's only some of them I can tell after a couple of minutes. This isn't one of them ones that I'm going to actually like. So I was cool with it. And but then but every once in a while I come across some that are like crazy. Hold up, before I'm sorry, let me just take a station identification break. Let me ask y'all this. Is this just me? Do you ever see those commercials like for like these like Dovato or whatever it is? You see these commercials for like some medication, right? And then they list off like the things that like may cause severe suicidal effect, bad intestinal disease, psychological damage, extreme nightmares. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It'll name like 10 things that are like almost worse than whatever it is you got. It's like there are times I'm like, man, why don't I might as well just keep the diabetes, man, because all the stuff that they said that it may cause is like worse. I just anyway, that's it. Anyway, back to the reality what I was saying. So I was watching this yeah, Grant, there you go, like Zoloft. Like it's like slim. They say like, oh, this will you may jump off a cliff and may wake up tomorrow and stab your in-laws. But Zola, this is like, golly. But anyway, so I like watching these testimonies sometimes about people who go to hell. And I was watching one of them. There's a guy I follow, a YouTuber. He's a believer. I can't remember. I think his name is Nick Jones. It's funny because every one of his videos is him watching another video. He has a couple 100,000 subscribers. I must be doing something wrong. I need to start watching videos of me watching other people's videos, and y'all watch me watch other people's videos. But anyway, so he had a video on about this testimony from this guy that felt like he was at Judgment Day. And there are times when you can tell, like, some people, I think everyone believes that they've had these dreams and visions. But there are times when some people, they're just the details they give and the way that they describe what their experience was, you could just tell it was authentic for them. And I do think this. I do think that the Lord, I think the church, particularly in America, I think has so lost its saltiness that I think we've lost in many ways. Not all Christians, obviously, but we've lost our ability. Like we're just so focused on the culture and the world, and we're so like in Israel, Old Testament Israel, they had to look different and stuff like that, so you could tell they were Israelites. Christians don't look different. We're not peculiar in that sense, but it's we're known for certain things that a lot of us aren't demonstrating. And so a lot of the church Christians, man, it's like, I mean, I like a lot of these guys that do these YouTube videos, but I find myself feeling like, man, it's like, why? It's like Christian TMZ out this joint, man. It's just like everybody, some of this stuff isn't, helping me honor the Lord more, but everyone has their own thing. So anyway, I was watching this video and this guy shared this story that he felt like he had prayed, Lord, would you give me a vision and let me see? And I promise if you do this, I will tell everybody, show the world. And he just prayed that he didn't think it was going to happen. So he's laying on his couch. He gets taken out of his body. And basically, it's a good video. I may put the link to it in the description. But he's standing in Judgment Day. And he described this. He basically said it was a shadowy figure. You couldn't see details, but you could hear his voice. And he said there were thousands upon thousands of people in front of him and thousands upon thousands in back of him. And there's a lot of other details. I don't want to just recreate everything he said, but he basically said that he would hear like these words, depart from me. And this big like vortex would open up and just suck people into it. It was going to hell, the lake of burning fire. And he said that it happened so fast, the people got sucked into the hole so fast that their screams were like delayed. So it'd be like, depart from me. Whew. Then it'd be like, ah, like it was when he tells it, it's really breathtaking in some senses. And he was talking about what that was like and how it when he got to him, what the Lord said to him. And he gave, I don't usually hear testimonies about Judgment Day. I usually hear testimonies about people who believe they went to hell for 23 minutes or whatever it was. But when I was listening to his testimony, he said something that I thought, he wasn't making this point, what I'm about to say, but it made me think of what Satan's favorite sin is. Now, I've done this video topic before, but this is part 2. And I remember what I said the first time, and this one's a little bit different. But I really think like, when I think about a lot of Christians, right? Christians that I know, people that I'm aware of, when I think about a lot of Christians and I think about some of the ways that we carry ourselves and particularly whether it's church hurt or trauma or whatever, just whatever it is, just ways that we just easily defensive, all these things. I realized that, a lot of the things that keep people from honoring the Lord, non-Christians, and a lot of Christians who profess to believe in God are going to probably find out that they don't really, because they have been sowing to Satan's favorite sin. And I think that it's particularly in America. I don't think that one size fits all. I think in different nations, among different people groups, there are different sins, that proclivities that people are more drawn to. And in America, I think Satan's greatest sin, his greatest sin strategy for believers in America is the sin of entitlement. Now, what I mean by that, it's not, entitlement is actually not a word that's in the Bible as sin, but I've seen what I'm describing as entitlement is when you have expectations that you feel like you deserve. You deserve to have certain things. And I'm not a morbidly introspective Christian. Like you all who follow my channel, I'll crack jokes. I like to have fun. I'm always trying to encourage and bring discernment. I'm not morbidly introspective, right? But I do think I think there is a place for every Christian. And I mentioned this about the other day in the video when I said that I used to know a guy who say better than I deserve, right? There's a place for recognizing that in on one level, the only thing we deserve from God is his wrath, right? It's not like when we sin, like God is not ever understanding about our sin. He's never like, hey man, I gave you a tough life, so it makes sense. He's never like that. He's never going to be like that. I think some of us kind of think God is like that, and he's just not. And when I was watching this video, it just reminded me of the severity of God's judgment. And I think as Christians, we should be like, hey, but we shouldn't bypass that, like kind of almost use his grace as sort of a crutch. Like, well, we're not worried about that stuff. Like, we should make our calling and election sure, right? But when I thought about Satan's favorite sin, I thought, many of the attitudes and the anger and the fighting and the things that Christians struggle with is really we just feel like we deserve certain things. Like I can tell you this, God never breaks his promises. But what he does break are the things that we think we deserve. The preferences and desires that we turn into promises, God doesn't always honor those. Often he doesn't. And like there is something about us in America where we just feel entitled. We feel entitled to not suffer. We feel entitled to be treated a certain way, to be talked to a certain way. We feel entitled for God to do certain things in our life. And this is a different video I'm going to talk about in the next day or two. But this idea of like finding your purpose is really like entitlement on the sneak. But we're going to talk about that in a separate video. There's a lot of like a lot of the new Christianity that like these popular YouTubers and these pastors are really talking about your purpose. And it's really just another word for entitlement. Like God owes you a particular lifestyle and particular answers to your questions, particular, whatever it is, there's something that we think we deserve. Like when you're offended at someone else, you really underneath it all, I mean, I do a lot of counseling. Underneath it all is you think you deserve to not be sinned against. And I think Christian marriages, even the divorce rate is high because you just think like you shouldn't be sinned against. You can sin against other people, but you shouldn't be sinned against. I think entitlement, I mean, I call this what we're living in this era now, the age of entitlement. But I think among the church, man, I've just seen so many believers like you've heard me talk about this, but I want to frame it in the lens of entitlement. I've seen so many believers think that we're entitled to a capitalistic society or entitled to have a particular political party in office or entitled to politicians changing laws that we think we're entitled to, some form of reparations because of what happened in the past. We're entitled to, and I honestly, I brothers and sisters, if you're of the Christian tradition like I am, I believe this with all my heart. I think entitlement is going to send a lot of people who profess to be Christians to hell. And the reason why I'm saying that, I'm not talking about genuine, but I'm saying profess to be. And then there's another video I'm going to do probably tomorrow that will kind of maybe further explain what I mean today. But I think be careful about entitlement, man. Like you need to not morbid introspection, but we need to keep in our minds that we deserve God's wrath. And so everything that we get outside of that is his grace. And I think so many of us are offended at God, offended at others, because we just feel entitled. We think we believe we deserve like God's blessing, not his wrath. And I just think, man, I don't think so. But what do I know? I just spent 3 hours at the doctor's office. I almost asked, could I get a job there? I was there so long, trying to see if my son could get help. So, what do I know? I know I still didn't get that root canal that I need, and the tooth is still there. You can't handle it. Like and subscribe if you want to. Like Skywalker. We're gonna keep the party going. Sorry so late. Thank you for those of you watching. Those of you who watch on the back end. Grace and peace. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you tomorrow with day 38. I got something nice for you.